What's good? It's your boy Fanon. All right, man, I'm going to do a post-fight to Demetrius Andrade versus Walter. I am not going to try to pronounce this dude's last name, but it was a pretty good fight, man. I got to say, man, I'm going to tell you, I think that Demetrius Andrade, as far as what happens in the 160-pound division, Demetrius Andrade is going to have a hard time getting a fight with those cats over there. I don't care who signed with Matchroom. That dude's going to have a hard time getting, I think he's going to have a hard time getting those guys like Danny Jacobs and Canelo Alvarez in the ring. Just from what I saw yesterday, I think he's probably the best middleweight that's going to be fighting on DAZN. And it's going to be tough. I don't see Canelo Alvarez. I do not see Canelo Alvarez fighting him, man. Because I don't think Canelo Alvarez can beat him. And to tell you the truth, man, I don't think Danny Jacobs can beat that guy either. Demetrius, although he fought somebody that was really outclassed, he just shows so many variations to his game. The thing that I liked about what Demetrius Andrade showed yesterday was, man, he's defensively responsible. He's a busy fighter. He changes levels very well. He gives the fighters different looks. He gave Walter a lot of different looks. He fought. Man, he showed that he had a little bit of pop, and so I knew that he was going to win that fight. I really wish that had been Billy Joe Saunders instead of Walter, the cat from Namibia. But, it wasn't, man. And that's not Demetrius Andrade's fault. That's Billy Joe Saunders' fault. But even watching how that fight went yesterday, man, I tell you, I think Billy Joe Saunders would have lost that. I think Billy Joe Saunders loses to Demetrius Andrade. Demetrius Andrade looked sloppy sometimes, man, but you can tell that he's not the most active guy in the world. And but man, that dude is really, really talented, man. He's very, very talented. He's got very fast hands. He's very smart. Man, now Walter, of course, was grossly outmatched, man. The way that he overthrew, I could tell, you could see the dude had a lot of knockouts, but the way that he really, man, over commits to his right hand, and basically after he punched, wound up getting almost his whole back turned to Demetrius Andrade. Demetrius Andrade slipped up underneath that man and hit him with a counter left hand that just, man, it was a spot on a bunch of times. Now, Demetrius Andrade also got very, very lucky because if Walter was a little more experienced, like as in Luis Flores type of experienced, or maybe Andre Durrell type of experienced, Demetrius Andrade might have lost that fight. It might have been determined to be a no contest, and he would have lost his chance to have that belt. Because when he slipped, basically their feet, he and Walter's feet, Demetrius Andrade's and Walter's feet got tangled, and Walter's goes down. And then when he's on the ground, Demetrius Andrade hits him with a straight right hand when he's clearly on the ground. But the ref didn't penalize him, didn't give the dude any extra time, just kind of just went on with it and gave him a little bit of a warning for that. But really, that right there, that's the type of thing where you can get disqualified, man. That happened to Roy Jones Jr. It's happened to, it happened. Shoot, you've seen people get disqualified from fights and fights get called no contest for somebody getting hit after the bell. But Walter he didn't recognize his opportunity to stay down, and that credit to him for not playing that game, for jumping up. But really, man, he could have had a rematch and a whole nother payday if he would have stayed on that ground. So, but anyway, Demetrius Andrade, man, I still favor. Man, he's going to be trouble. I want to see him against everybody, man. Just, no, all nonsense aside, man. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on around about Andrade and him not having fought Jermell Charlo, not necessarily wanting to fight Jermall Charlo, and, all of that stuff. But I'm telling you, man, I think that this dude this guy can fight, man. That ain't easy. That ain't easy money for anybody. And unless he just does not have a chin, and somebody can really hit him flush on that, man, they're gonna have hard time winning rounds against that guy, man. You know, I'm not saying that he can't be beat, but hey, man, I think that he's a top-notch middleweight, man. And that's watching him fight a guy like Walter, who's not the best, who's definitely not the top quality guy. Never fought out of Africa before. I think he was a WBO African champion. Came over here similar to the way that Julius Ndungo, also, a champion from Namibia, had come over to the United States and pretty much just got fed to the wolves. Now, Julius Ndungo got fed to the wolves once he came to the United States. He made a couple other stops. Stop in Russia, a stop in the UK, provided that fight with Ricky Burns wasn't in South Ireland. I'm pretty sure it was in the UK. Made a stop there, picked up a belt, actually defended a belt, and then came to the United States and got fed to the wolves. Walter got fed to the wolves a little early, but still, just from what I see from Demetrius Andrade, man, that's a top-notch fighter right there, man. That's somebody that I'm looking forward to seeing fight again. As far as how the rest of the card went, I said, man, I had this, I streamed it and I was watching it, and God dog, man, that is a lot of boxing. And when I mean there's a lot of boxing, it was like there's a lot of boxing on one card to be televised. And it was really, man, like watching a Boxing Nation fight, man. It was taking place in Boston. Half of the fighters were from the UK, a bunch of mismatches. I mean, and this isn't anything that's, stands out as being any different than like an ESPN fight card or a Golden Boy fight card, but just a ton of mismatches, man. Just a ton, top to bottom mismatches. And the order of the fights were strange to me. I don't understand why in the United States they would choose to put on an IBF championship fight with Tevin Farmer and that bum, James Tennyson. My goodness, dude, that dude is a bum. How are you going to get knocked out by body shots from a feather-fisted Tevin Farmer, man? Jeez. But anyway, why would they put the IBF Super Featherweight Championship on before the Katie Taylor and Cindy Serrano mismatch? I don't get it, man. But Tommy Coyle fight, Ryan, I guess Tommy Coyle fight was, there was some competition there, as was, some competition with, what is the guy's name? Kid Galahad and Toko Khan Clary. Those are a little bit of a rock'em sock'em robots type of fight, man. But, nothing particularly good, man. I didn't get to see the Scott Quigg. I would have wanted to see the Scott Quigg fight, but if this is Matchroom USA and you have every other fighter on this, that was basically just Matchroom UK and they held it in Boston. Because most of the people was Tennyson was from the UK, Kid Galahad was from the UK, Katie Taylor, Tommy Coyle. I'm not sure if Mark DeLuca was, but no, I think Mark DeLuca is from the United States. It was Mark DeLuca versus Walter Wright. So that was American. Those are a couple Americans fighting like way on the undercard. Scott Quigg, and it's just up and down. It's up and down the card, man. But it is what it is, man. All in all, I enjoyed the Demetrius Andrade fight because I got to see him in the ring, see what he looked like. In my mind's eye, I was trying to think about what he could do with Jamal Charlo or Jamel Charlo or Danny Jacobs or Canelo Alvarez or Gennady Golovkin, right? And I think, man, that he has a good shot. He has a good shot against anybody. I think Gennady Golovkin could cause him some problems, man, just because sometimes he is there for that straight. Sometimes he is there for that straight right. And, and that's the bane to the existence of a southpaw. But even Gennady Golovkin, man, I think Demetrius Andrade beats Gennady Golovkin. I would like to see him step up and get, fight against somebody that has, somebody that has a heartbeat. On this, I'm just going off what I see with their, with the skill set. But, again, all in all, man, I could do without that fight card. I really could do without that fight card. It was a bunch of mismatches. But that's no different. Again, some people call it mismatch room, but that's no different than, it's no different than what's going on with Top Rank. Top Rank's the same way. You get one big name fighter at the top of the card fighting a mismatch and a bunch of mismatches up underneath it. Golden Boy Promotions, same thing. One big name fighter at the top of the card, with the exception of the the last couple Canelo Gennady Golovkin fights, right? So you got that case. You had two good fighters, two well-known fighters, and a bunch of mismatches. And yeah, it's not. I mean, it's just not a really good trend in boxing, man. If you're gonna spend that much time watching boxing, you should see two good fighters that you want to see fight. More than one good fighter on a card, right? Or two good fighters on a card in this case, because I would say that Katie Taylor is a good fighter. I like watching Katie Taylor fight. The problem with Katie Taylor, though, is that they're all going to be mismatches, because down there at the lightweight division, there's not a lot of well-known female fighters. And the ones that, I'd like to see her fight are two weight classes above her, right? I'd like to see her against Cecilia Brækhus, but Cecilia Brækhus is up at 147. Katie Taylor's at 135. So I don't know how realistic that fight is to be made. But, definitely, man, I think that that's a little bit disrespectful to Tevin Farmer to have him fighting on the third to last fight, behind Katie Taylor. When, I mean, I guess you can make an argument that Katie Taylor has two belts, but I mean, in America, man, she should have been the third fight out, in my opinion. But it is what it is. And, we'll see what happens in the welterweight division from here on out. And with that, I'm out. Peace.